KNRS News brought to you by Wasatch Heat Cable. I'm Abby Bonnell. It's 6:03. Federal agents carried out raids at polygamous Kingston-operated businesses and homes from Sandy to Box Elder County today. Boxes of documents taken by agents. Washakie Renewal Energy also raided along with a multi-million-dollar home. A sealed warrant has been issued, so little information is being disclosed. A state lawmaker is behind a bill that would get rid of vehicle safety inspections in Utah. Representative Norm Thurston says there's no proof it's improving vehicle safety.
We've asked the question for over a year now, does it actually make the road safer? And in the year that I've been looking at this, I don't find any evidence that it actually makes any difference. So if you've got something that's costing people a lot of money, it's a hassle for them, and it's not providing any public benefit, you'd have to think about maybe getting rid of it.
The Provo Republican appearing on Rod Show tonight. Law enforcement would still be able to issue tickets for vehicle safety violations. A state lawmaker also introducing a resolution that encourages state leaders to stand behind a statement that says Utah is ready, willing and able to host the Winter Olympics again. State leaders have said Utah could host another Olympics with minimal investment, since many of the venues are already here and just need upgrading. Local residents socked under a thick, foggy mess tonight. Data from Envision Utah says emissions from vehicles responsible for 48% of Utah's bad air. Homes and businesses add another 39%.
If you're in a drive-thru, getting coffee, grabbing a bite to eat, turn off your car. It actually wastes more gas to idle for 10 seconds than to turn off your vehicle and restart it.
State lawmakers currently dealing with 16 bills related to cleaning up Utah's air. One of them has passed, the others are still being debated. KNRS News at the top and bottom of the hour. You'll find it anytime at KNRS.com.
The shootout at the OK Corral.
Women's rights on gay rights.
Here's the world we live in.
And I apologize to nobody.
And with leadership, we can do it again.
Election HQ, the fight for the White House and control of Congress. A weekly conversation about the 2016 election. Joining Rod to analyze the major stories of the week is former Chief of Staff for Senator Mike Lee and now political strategist Boyd Matheson.
All right, welcome back to the Ron Arquette Show here on Talk Radio 105.9 KNRS. And it's always fun to talk with Boyd. I tell you what, Boyd, is this a bizarro election year or what right now?
It just keeps getting better. It keeps getting better.
I love this. I love this headline in the New York Post today. John Podhoretz wrote, "New Hampshire proves that Americans hate politicians right now."
And I think that's probably the most correct thing in that paper in a long time. It's true. I think so many people are just fed up, and that's the angst that you're seeing that is propelling both Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders to the top of the pack right now.
Boyd, everyone thinks she is going to recover, but you cannot deny that Hillary Clinton. Someone opened up a can of whoop-you-know-what on her last night up in New Hampshire, and Bernie Sanders was the one who did it.
That's right, and it's very interesting. It's a lot of the things that everyone said way back in 2008 when Barack Obama got a few victories here and there. Everyone said, it'll be okay, she's fine, she's still the prohibitive favorite. And those things are probably true, but Bernie has tapped into something very, very unique. He raised a boatload of money just in about a 4-hour period last night, so he's going to have the resources to keep going. Now, whether he can really sell his brand of democratic socialism to the South and to the West of the country is going to be the real challenge, because most people in the South and the West are at least going to ask the question, where does the money come from?
He raked in $5.2 million last night alone as a result of what he did in New Hampshire. Surprised you at all?
It's not a bad evening's work. It's surprising, and yet it's not, because if you look at who he's targeted, he sort of has a Ron Paul sort of following. It's young, it's small dollar folks, but they all feel like suddenly somebody cares about them. Someone is interested in the angst that they've been feeling for the last couple of years. And while I don't know that they really done the heavy lifting and gone deep enough to see what his policies really mean to them, they at least know that he seems authentic. And Bernie Sanders is a very, very nice guy, very likable, very authentic. He is who he is and nothing else. And there's something about that. And I think we're seeing the same let's take Trump out of the picture for a moment. But if you look at what John Kasich did in New Hampshire, it was that same thing. He camped out there for 4 months and, really was running to be the president of New Hampshire, I think. But when he has those one-on-one moments, John Kasich is so authentic and is so genuinely concerned about the poor and the middle class that it comes through. Now, it's going to be a challenge for John Kasich to be able to duplicate that in places like South Carolina and Nevada, and then when we have a whole, Super Tuesday where you really can't do the retail politicking, where his authenticity comes through, I think that's going to be where he's going to have some challenges. But I think he's got a nice infusion of money, so he'll be on to the next phase.
Yeah, Boyd, let me ask you. I was driving home last night listening to Hillary Clinton. And it was painful, by the way, but in her speech last night. But here she is talking about big money in politics, that we're going to put an end to that, about Wall Street and the one percenters. And I'm going to say, does she think we're stupid? I mean, for crying out loud, she is surviving because of big money in politics.
That's right, and it's sort of a double whammy. There's a hypocrisy component to it. And again, it's part of what is propelling Bernie is they look at Hillary and they say that is not authentic. you can't take almost $700,000 in speaking fees for 3 speeches from Wall Street and then say you're going to get Wall Street. You're going to put Wall Street under your thumb. It's not congruent. And I think that's one of the things. Again, going back to the New York Times headline, why we hate politicians is because they're not congruent. They're promising one thing in an election year and doing the opposite. I thought that was another really interesting thing out of out of New Hampshire, was the fact that over 50% of Republicans felt absolutely betrayed by their party. That is an indictment of epic proportions on where leadership is in the Republican Party right now.
It's amazing. And how does the party deal with this, Boyd?
So I think it's going to take some authenticity. It's going to take a John Kasich making some of those points and showing that, hey, we really are the party of upward mobility in the middle class. I think it's going to take the remaining candidates minus Trump, because he's just going to keep bashing that symbol. That's what he does. But it's going to take the rest of them to quit firing at each other and start saying, look, here is an agenda. Here's an agenda that we're going to lead with that is conservative principles, the principles that have lifted more people out of poverty than any set of principles in the history of the world. And this is what we're going to do. And I think they also need to come out and say, it's very much like, remember when Domino's Pizza did their whole overhaul and their president came out and national commercial said, our pizza sucks.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And we're going to listen to you. We're not asking you to trust us. We're going to trust you, and we're going to make a better pizza with better service and better pricing. And they went out and did it. And I think the Republican Party has got to say, you know what, our pizza sucks. And we're going to change. And we're going to quit. We're going to quit the status quo, and we're going to start listening. And we're not going to say American people trust us, because we've tried that. But I think what they can say is, here is our agenda. We're not going to ask you to trust us, but watch what's next. Watch where we go.
I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for Reince Priebus to come out and say, we as Republicans suck.
I think it would be the most authentic thing any politician has ever said. And I'll tell you what, if we did, and I do give Marco Rubio some credit for doing that.
Yeah, he did
with his debate performance.
Yeah.
He said, I screwed up, and I won't do it again. Watch what's next, and invite people to come along. And I think that is, it is what it takes. It's that authenticity. If we screw up, we say, you know what, we screwed up. If we broke a promise, we need to go back and figure out how do we rebuild that? How do we do that? And there's this thing called courageous vulnerability, which Washington sort of sucks out of every human that goes inside the Beltway. But there is something to a candidate or a president or an elected official who can show that courageous vulnerability, who can say, yeah, I don't have all the answers, or yeah, I do think we've made a mistake. And what do you think? How do we move forward? How do we get it going? And that authenticity, I tell you, that rings true to the American voter. like nothing else.
Yeah, especially right now with the trust in government so low and trust in politicians. I would agree with you, Boyd. I think that would work. Hey, Boyd, on to South Carolina, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, sounds great. And remember, I did get New Hampshire correct with the Trump, Kasich, Cruz, Bush, Rubio. So I just wanted to rub that in the archive somewhere. That I got one right. I got 1 week right. So
you want to rub that in. All right, we'll see what happens in South Carolina. Thanks, Boyd.
Thanks, Rod. We'll see you.
All right, Boyd Matheson, former chief of staff for Utah Senator Mike Lee, a political strategist. And he's right. He did get New Hampshire right. All right, more coming up on the Rod Arquette Show on Talk Radio 105.9 KNRS. Listen, and you'll know. Mike Wilson back on the center stage here in the Rod Arquette Show talking about Any Hour Services. Rated best in the state in 2015. They're here for all your electrical, your plumbing, your heating needs. Mike, we were talking earlier. Your company has really developed a great reputation with people about how you educate homeowners. Why have you gone in that direction?
Well, it just comes from understanding how I would want to be treated as a consumer. And I can't stand when people try and, come in and just tell me what I need done without trying to educate me why. And so what we've done is we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to train all of our people, whether it's the people answering the phones or the technicians coming into the home, on how best to communicate with the homeowner and how to take all of that technical jargon that's in their head and try and lay it out for a customer in a way that they're going to understand, because it doesn't do anyone any good to go in and try and take advantage of something that someone doesn't know, because I don't feel good when someone tries to do that, and we don't feel good operating as a business that way. So we try and take the opposite approach, take the time up front to try and explain what's going on, and then let the customer make their decision, because they know what they want to do.
Yeah. Now, what are some tips that you could offer to people listening tonight that they could do before they even have to call a technician, like somebody at Any Hour Services?
Correct. Yeah. If you find yourself with a problem, you may have to call somebody, but really, it's just some basic maintenance things that are easy to forget, but if you do them, they can save you a lot of headache. One, as far as your furnace is concerned, since that's what we're talking about tonight, keep the area around the furnace clean. Move the bags of water softener salt and the boxes that you're storing down there.
I need to do that tonight.
Right? Move that stuff away. Make sure you go down and check your air filter once a month. If it's dirty, change it as you need to. And then, make sure you've got fresh batteries in your thermostat. All of those things will help your system to run correctly. Now, we have a tune-up that we're offering tonight, because manufacturers say that the best maintenance to do for your furnace is to have this annual service performed. And so we've got our systemized checklist. It's a 29-point furnace tune-up. Our HVAC technicians will go through your system top to bottom, make sure all the vital components are working, make sure there's no safety hazards, everything's lubricated and functioning properly. This takes a while to perform. Normally, this is a $99 value, and it's well worth it to have it done. But for your listeners, if they call tonight and get this on the schedule, they can't get it done tonight, but call tonight and get it on the schedule. We're performing it for only $29.
I know you're getting a lot of phone calls, but just keep on trying, right, Mike?
Yeah, keep trying. We've had, actually, this last break, even more calls than before. And so if you're having trouble getting through, keep calling. We've got live people that'll answer through the end of the night for you.
They'll come to check your furnace, do a great job with it. Call right now, normally $99. If you call today, $29. 801-443-7400. Must call today, 801-443-7400. All right, let's get a news update. Here's Abby.
Thanks, Rod.